Welcome. Now, the question here is, we talked about IT governance, we've talked about information security governance. Information security governance is just how you manage the information security function or the information security management system, the ISMS. So why is information security governance at stage 4 of the information security transformation model, the 4-step or the 4-stage information security transformation model? Let's have a look at the security transformation model once again. So this is a graphic of the information security transformation model. Security hardening is at stage 1, vulnerability management is at stage 2, security engineering is at stage 3, and security governance is the last stage at stage 4. So again, coming back to our original question, why are we addressing managing the function in the last stage? So the answer to that question is, first you build a building and then you start managing the building. We can't start managing the building before we start building the building. That doesn't mean we shouldn't plan the building of or the construction of the building, and that is done by the architect. That's a separate process. But you can only manage the operations of the building once it has been constructed. So we'll focus our efforts on constructing the building first and then worry about how we're going to manage the operations of the building. So the first 2 stages in the information security transformation model build up the essential groundwork and the foundations. The 3rd stage, which is security engineering, implements advanced security measures, which are also very useful, and they only make sense after you've done the first 2 steps, which are the security hardening in step 1, and then the vulnerability management in step 2, and then you go on to step 3 or stage 3, which is security engineering, which is looking more into design, looking more into depth, looking at architecture of security. And then finally, in the 4th stage, it's time to manage all of the construction that we've put in place or the building that we've put in place for the information security management system. So limited organizational bandwidth. Now, what does that mean? What that means is that there are only so many resources which are allocated for security, and all the IT resources have to do other work as well. So if you are going to adopt or take up an information security transformation project, the IT resources can only spend 20 to 25% or 30% of their time on a daily basis with all the management commitment on information security, and they still have to spend about 60 to 70% of their daily time on their IT operations and their IT activities. And that's so that the business keeps running, obviously. So there is a limited organizational bandwidth, and that's why you have to select and prioritize what you're going to do. And there are so many tasks to do in information security that we have to do the important tasks first. We can't do everything together. So governance is a broad function. It's a huge function, and it's very deep also. And there's a tendency to get lost in governance because it's too broad and it's too deep. And wherever you dip into the ocean of governance, you could drown there altogether, and you not even get time to come out and look at another area. So you may get lost in governance if implemented at the wrong time, when the organization is not ready, or in the wrong sequence, and spend limited resources where they count most in security hardening. So we have limited resources, and we have to expand them or spend them or exercise those resources where they're most needed. And that's when you are going to build a building, then that is the foundation of the building. You have to spend the resources there. We can't build the 3rd story of the building or the 10th story of the building first. You have to build the foundation first. So Pakistan's information security paradigm is there's a governance overkill. It's a lopsided, it's completely upside down. In Pakistan, unfortunately, the entire emphasis seems to be on governance. And if you look at the security controls, they're just totally absent. And no one ever considered that those controls are required. There's a lack of awareness. And not many people are familiar with the international best practice. You start off with the controls and then you do vulnerability management. And the Pakistan InfoSec paradigm is that it's a reactive environment, mostly to the regulator or to compliance requirements. It's superficial. it's not in depth. There's a complete absence of underlying security controls, and that is why we need the security transformation, because we've missed almost one generation of information security while IT has progressed and matured. So once the basic foundations of security hardening, vulnerability management, and security engineering are in place, it is then time to manage the system. It is then time for information security governance. If we try to establish governance first, our entire energy will be consumed and exhausted and wasted in trying to manage a system that has not been even built, which obviously doesn't make sense. Organizational security maturity is also another very important issue. When does governance make sense? When does it make sense to start the documentation, to look into the processes? The organizational culture and maturity is not built up in a day. The depth and the culture and the DNA of the organization changes very gradually and slowly. So, if you try a very strong dose of governance when the organization is not ready for it, it will backfire. So governance is important, but only after security hardening and control stage 1, 2, 3 are in place. That's all that we have for this module. Thank you.